You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
Awesome. So I'm here today with the lovely Payne, who is the CEO and founder of Horatio Printing. Welcome, Polly. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, excited to really hear a lot about your story. I think it sounds super interesting how you got into business and what you do as well. So could you just start off by telling us what you do today? Like, who do you serve in your business? What does Horatio Printing do?
Yeah, so my business has definitely evolved. We just turned 10 in October.
Wow.
So we've gone through a lot of different variations, but I have basically two sides of my business. The first side that I started back in 2014 is my printing and publishing side of my business. So I make planners, devotionals, Bible studies, but I really started with one core product to begin with, which was a planner, because despite making a planner, I'm actually really not type A. I'm very messy. I'm a creative entrepreneur. And at the time, my life was just an absolute mess. Like, can't remember things. I wasn't becoming who I wanted to become. I wasn't really, there was some itch inside of me of like, I think I'm supposed to be doing something different, something more fulfilling. And that's really when my first product was born, the Dream Planner, to help me write down my dreams, be more intentional with my time, start taking action on things that were on the back burner. And so I started my planner company, and I still had my full-time job. I was senior sales director for an ad tech company in New York. And I'd been in that advertising marketing career for a couple years. And I did Horatio as my side hustle for a year and a half until I finally took the leap. And once I really did full time with Horatio, we expanded a little bit. We did subscription boxes for a while. We made, started making other products other than just the planner. The person I serve in that business is largely women, Christian women, typically, who have a dream, who want to get organized. Some people are super type A that come to me, and some are kind of more like me, like just a creative entrepreneur that's a little messy, a little crazy, and needs something to like take the chaos out and the overwhelm and get everything written down. And so I did that for a long time. I've grown that, really enjoyed it. I've had 2 different warehouses. I've moved the business to 4 different states. It's been a whole journey. And then in June of 2022, I started my second division of the business, which is Print School. And that's where I empower other people who have a dream to create something beautiful, something they've, had on the back burner themselves, and publish it. And then eventually sell it. So I've been doing that now for a good bit. And it's been so fun getting to see other people kind of in that conception phase of their business, which is like the fun phase. But it's also the really unsure phase, because you've never done it. You don't know how to print it. It's how am I going to even make money? What do I not know? So that's been really fun to kind of build a roadmap for other women.
Yeah, amazing. So what kinds of things are they printing? Like, what sort of, are they planners and that type of organizational product as well? Or are people coming to you and writing a novel and then self-publishing that? Like, give us some.
I have a lot of them on my shelf behind me. I'd say largely it's diversified. Not as many novels, but guided journals for different types of people. Whether it's, a devotional that also shares their story. Most people are wanting to create something with like really thick paper that would give the person buying it an experience to interact with it. Some people are making planners. We have people making Cancer Warrior journals where they're taking it with them to the meetings or to the appointments. We have people making grief journals. We have, a lot of mental health journals being created, fertility planner. We had an OBGYN make a fertility planner, like all sorts of things that I would have never think to make. It's really been fun to kind of see just all the shades and like all the different types of things that they're creating. But it's kind of a nice, rainbow of things.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, it really resonated when you said when you're a creative type. I think I'm that one as well, where there's lots of stuff going on inside my head. And yeah, just having something that you can get the thoughts down into that's maybe even guiding you a little bit on what to write. Because, people say, oh, journal. I'm like, well, okay, where do I start?
Yeah.
What am I writing about? I don't know. There's like so many thoughts that are happening inside your head at any moment in time. I think that to me is, the real power of having something like that, where it can guide your journaling, where it asks you prompts and questions so that you have something to respond to. Otherwise, yeah, for me, I would just stare at a blank piece of paper and think I just don't even know where to start.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I really love that. And I can see, so many, just the way that we are now, everybody's becoming so aware of, I guess what people are going through and things that they're dealing with, those life stages, important medical stuff. And then even with our kids and, really helping them to grow and build self-esteem and, really evolve their thinking. I just love that people are creating so many amazing tools and resources to help with that. So it must be just so rewarding.
It's so fun. A lot of them end up doing a Kickstarter actually to help them like fund the print and raise the money so they don't have to purchase the mass order, which that is so fun. It's like right now there's 3 Kickstarters happening with different print school students, and it's so fun to get to help them build their campaign, give them feedback on their video and like how they're marketing it, how they're setting up their rewards. Because my first year, I did self-funding. And then my second year, I had spent all my profit really on my wedding. I got married and it was like, I don't have any money to buy these planners. And so, yeah. And I also was using a printer at the time that was way too expensive, like ridiculously expensive. So my profit margin was already super slim. And so my second year, I did a Kickstarter to raise the money to print, my next 2,000 products. And so that's a great way to do it. And so that's really fun too, just getting to see their journeys, kind of some of, they're sweating before they press live, but they have not a rule book, but they have a guide, it's kind of like taking a hike. And it's like, if you go by yourself and you've never taken that hike, it's like, it's a little nerve wracking. But if you go on the hike and like someone there with you has taken that hike, it's like, okay, well, that sounds, it's just not as daunting when someone's gone down the path before you. So that's been super rewarding, very much.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about Kickstarters, because I've heard that term, I think people who are in the publishing space, it's a common term, but if you haven't been in there at all, you might be like, I've got no idea what that is. Do you want to, share a bit more?
It's basically, Kickstarter is a crowdfunding platform to help mostly creative projects. And it's not crowdfunding in the sense of like GoFundMe, or if you've ever, had a friend or someone, there's a tragedy, maybe there's a death in the family or a bad diagnosis, and they're raising money for that. It's not that. You're not just asking for donations. It's kind of like if you donate to, or you pledge to my Kickstarter, you're going to get a reward. So it's basically a way to pre-fund a campaign. And there's usually a time limit. So it's, you set the time limit of 14 days or 30 days, and you set how much you need to make. So a lot of my students try to raise roughly $1,500 to $4,000 in order for them to print 300 to, let's say, maybe 1,000 or 700 products, 1,000 products, whatever. And so they'll set up rewards, like, the first 25 people can get the copy of the product for this really great price. And then everyone else gets the Kickstarter price, which is going to be less than what they sell it on their website for. Then you can do other fun rewards. I know when I did mine, I had one Kickstarter reward was you get the product and then you get to go to like a brunch and you get a calligraphy lesson and you get to have your name put in the product by our calligraphy artist. And so just, you can make up fun things like a retreat, or maybe it's a big Zoom call with group coaching, or, if you pick this one, you get 5, for a great price for Christmas gifts. And so it's a way to crowdfund and pre-order, but it's all or nothing. So if you have a goal of $2,000 and you don't raise the $2,000, nobody gets charged and you don't make any money. So there is a bit of pressure to hit the goal, but the beauty of it is that's what drives urgency. And in marketing, you need urgency of some sort, whether that's just it's a limited edition or the sale's going to end or there's an early bird gift or whatever it is, right? You have to order by this date to get it by that date. Urgency helps in marketing. And so Kickstarter is like this really fun urgency play. And what's so nice, I had a student, Melissa, she Kickstarted her travel journal. So cute, really tiny little sweet travel journal. And she was able to buy like 1,000 travel journals. And she's like, it's so fun because it's all paid for. The money I make now that I've broken even, all the rest is my profit. And so it's a great way to do it. That's a bit less risky versus buying a ton of product, hoping people buy it and it sits in your garage. Because of fear, I get it. So that's been a really fun thing to do. And I, for one, love it because the people that funded my Kickstarter back in 2015, those were people that planted a really special seed in my life and in my business. And for years, I would send them an email every year, thanking them, thank you for the seed you planted back in 2015. Because now, my business has raised over $80,000 to fight human trafficking. And those people played a role in that seed. And so it's a great way to bring people in that can then become these super fans and these, even if it's your aunt and a bunch of other people, you know what I mean? It's building this little community that's really sweet and letting them see behind the scenes. And even if the product takes a while to make and they have to wait, you can show them the behind the scenes, hey, I'm at the post office, or hey, here's the printer. I've got the first order, or those kind of things, and keeping them updated. And so for me, it's fun. Of course, there is some nerves going into it, but it's a really fun way to launch something.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, having that little bit of pressure, being you got to reach the goal in order for it all to happen, is the thing that will make you hit that button to go live, right? Where you're I don't know if I really want to do this. This is nerve-wracking. And it's always hard the first time you do anything, but it maybe gives you that little bit of added incentive to push that button, to go live, to do the thing that you're a bit afraid of doing. And then you find out afterwards, hey, it wasn't that bad after all. It was all good. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I did have a question for you. Oh, yes. It was about self-publishing. So kind of curious to hear, what does that kind of mean for you? What does it even look like? Is that meaning you've got your stuff on Amazon and it's selling through Amazon, or do you sell through your own website? What do you want to talk to us a bit more about self-publishing and really what that means?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of ways to do self-publishing, and I personally don't currently actively do all the ways you can self-publish, but I've definitely looked into it. My way of self-publishing is I have an idea in my head of something beautiful I want to create. And I'm a really big fan of high quality paper products, super thick paper, really good binding, beautiful covers with linen and leather and sometimes tabs or pockets. And a lot of things in the self-publishing world is print on demand, which is great. And it's really low touch and it's low risk. You don't have to buy a bunch of inventory. You really don't have to do a Kickstarter to do print on demand. But for me, I've just had this twitch about low quality products, or the paper being the paper I wanted and that kind of thing. So for me, the way I do self-publishing is I create a unique design, print ready files, either mostly I do it through InDesign. I'll hire a designer and we design the entire product from front to back. And then I take those files, I work with a printer overseas and I get a sample made. And then after I get that sample made, that's usually when I'll create my marketing material. Like, let's say I was doing a Kickstarter for that product. That's when I would create a marketing campaign with my sample. And then once I knew how many I wanted to buy, which now I don't do Kickstarters, I just self-fund from my previous profits. But I will purchase my products with my printer, usually 500 or more of a SKU. And then I like to sell it through Shopify. I've tried selling through Amazon. I currently have some products sitting in an Amazon warehouse that are selling, but Amazon takes a pretty high cut of the purchase. It's nice because things arrive quickly. And so there is like a yin and yang of Amazon. I think it's super lucrative. But for me, I really like Shopify or just your own website in general, because especially if you plan to sell more products down the road, if you're not selling more, maybe it's not a big deal. But when you sell a product on your website, like Shopify, you have that person's email. It then goes to your email, server,
Yes.
right? It's your ConvertKit or Flowdesk or whatever you're using. And you can remessage them. You can nurture them. You can get to know them. You could sell them a coaching service or something else, right? When you work with another company like Amazon, you don't get access to your customer data.
Yes.
And that's a really big thing to lose. And that's why a lot of times when you buy something on Amazon, it'll come with a card and they're trying to get you to interact with them because they want to get to know you, right?
Yeah.
They want to have information. So that's kind of a bummer about Amazon is you don't always get that. Sometimes when people do a pre-order or like a book launch, they will have you go buy the product and then upload that order number onto their website in order to get your info, which is smart. But that's how I do it. I do like a slightly more traditional self-publishing. Like I call it self-publishing because I'm doing it and I'm the publisher. But it's not self-publishing in the sense of you just upload a PDF and Amazon's going to take care of the rest. I think that is really smart. And I think there's nothing wrong with it. Like, people that are self-publishing using Amazon KDP, I think it can be super lucrative. And if you have another part of your business that, I mean, you're busy and like your life isn't ready for, your own publishing adventure, I think Amazon KDP is a fantastic avenue to take. And it actually formats the product for you. I think you just upload the transcript and then you're able to sell it book bound, paperback, Kindle version. And so that's a great way to dip your toes into it, is the Amazon KDP method, which there's all sorts of resources on YouTube on how to get started with that. But for me, I like to format my products myself with a designer.
Yeah, I totally get that. Like, because coming from a marketing background as well, we did so much print, especially when it's something that, you're thinking someone's going to keep this, you want it to have an experience. I remember launching a business that was a country club in the prospectus, and it was like, no, we needed to do, foil overlays on the cover and get really lovely like satin gloss paper. And, it was all in the feel as well as what was inside it and the words, that like the presentation had to be at that level. And so I really understand that. And I guess what you're saying, and really smart having that choice of what style, why are you doing this? What is it for? And how do you want people to be experiencing it? Because I think that, your way of doing it is like this really high quality product. And you're literally, it's almost like having it is a physical product. So it's like you've got an e-commerce shop, you're shipping out the planners. I'm imagining that you then organize the postage and all of that stuff yourself. So that's a totally different kettle of fish to be, taking on than if you've uploaded something to Amazon, they're printing it, they're doing the sending, and yes, you're getting your commissions from the sale, but they're doing a lot of that heavy lifting for you, the storage, the product piece, and maybe that's, like you said, a different type of business or a reason why you've created the item that it is. And, I think, just to add in one other piece would be, those, like, not having your customers' addresses, that would be why you see so many of the books that are written by, a thought leader or a subject matter expert, and they'll have something in the book that's often enticing you to go to their website and opt in for like another free resource, or, listen to this audio file, or grab this PDF, or do the quiz, or whatever it is. It's relevant to the book, but they've always got something that is like the next step, because, as you say, like, they don't know who their customers are any other way. Like, they need to create something in order to get you across into their world.
Yeah, and if they plan on having like a big in-person conference, they want those people to market to. And so I love doing that stuff. We did an Easter devotional a while back, and we put what I like to call it little Easter eggs in it. So you'd go a couple pages and there's a QR code to, have the author pray over you, and it was like this pre-filmed video on the website. And so that's a great way to do it. Even if you are selling on Shopify, like having Easter eggs where you take people to interact with you, or take them to a podcast episode, or take them wherever, it's such a cool way to elevate it beyond just a printed product and to build a relationship with them. So I definitely teach that with my students. Like, my planner comes with an entire course called the Dream Planning Essentials course that walks you through that, and building a vision board and all sorts of fun things beyond just, your schedule.
Yes.
One thing you said about, shipping out all the stuff, and that can feel really overwhelming. Like, how on earth do I get it from like the printer to the person? And I've had 2 different warehouses. But when I first started my business, I was living on a 4th floor walk-up in New York with no elevator, and so it was like, I'm not shipping this stuff. What am I going to do? And so I early on partnered with a 3PL, a third-party logistics company that basically serves as just a warehouse that ships your products, and they connect to your Shopify. And so, and then I got out of that and decided I wanted to be the warehouse. So I learned how to have a warehouse. I had my employees. We shipped all of our own stuff, bought all the things. And then I moved the warehouse to Tennessee, from Florida to Tennessee. And then after my second baby, and I was in there like literally the day before I gave birth, I'm like in the warehouse, like moving stuff. And like some of our planners had gotten smushed because they were like pink leather. And my employee was like, they're all messed up. And I'm like, there's no way they're all messed up. And I'm like in there, and she's like, you're crazy. And I totally was crazy. I shouldn't have been. But after that, I was like, I think I'm going back to outsourcing. And so I partnered with a new warehouse that I love. And I just send all my print school students there. And so it's great. Like right now, I could get a sale on my website. Right now, my planners are sold out, but we have other things. But if I get an order on my website, I don't touch it. Like, my third-party warehouse goes into my website, gets that order, prints it out, packs it up, ships it off. The only thing I'm in charge of, and my team's in charge of, is customer service. Like, oh, the package is missing, or hey, where's the, but the customer gets the tracking information. Like 95% of the time, we're good. It's just those little bits of like, hey, I want to return or exchange or whatever. That's all I'm doing. So it can be more hands-off than I think people realize, because there's people in place that, and my warehouse will ship stuff to Amazon for you if you want to have, and they're a helper in that way, which is super nice. But that's just something to know. It can be more outsourced than you think.
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, that's great. Because I'm thinking, gosh, you're sitting there with all these orders coming in, and like, oh, I know that there are definitely some e-commerce businesses that start off that way, and yes, getting to a drop shipping type of arrangement be so much easier and better for you. So that's really great to hear, and it's so good to have someone, a company that you trust, who really is being that delivery arm of your business, because then you can focus on marketing, selling, like having more people find your planner and purchase it. And that's really where your focus should be, right? On that external piece. Can you talk a little bit more about the kinds of things that you do? How do you coach your clients in, once they've actually got the product, the Kickstarter's over and then you've got it, what do you do to keep people discovering it, to get them to your website? Because it's like now there's a product that's eternally available, or for as long as you decide to run it for. And you don't have this campaign that was like, I think and you nailed it when you said it just creates that urgency. It's exciting. It's got a deadline on it. What do you do once that's over? So yeah, tell me a bit about what kind of strategies you employ in your business, or what do you coach your clients to do?
That's so good. So my first course I made was Print School, and then I made Launch School. So it's kind of like they go together, they're sandwiched together.
Yeah.
And once you graduate one, you go to the second one. And so Launch School takes you through your Kickstarter, if you choose to do that, and then an e-commerce, your website, your emails, all of that. And so once you're done and people are buying your product and they're using it now, that's amazing feeling when people start to, hey, look, it's all filled out. And you're like, oh my gosh, like that feeling is pretty cool. The next thing is really growth. You focus on growth. Once you have all your systems in place and your customer service templates are good to go and, the things are rocking and rolling, it's a matter of growth. And so every person kind of has a different growth strategy based on who their person is. So I kind of just give them my whole, kitchen sink of like, these are all the things you could do. And then I really want my students to be empowered to think about what's going to move the needle for the person I'm speaking to, right? Like if I'm reaching women who have a certain diagnosis, right? Like, where are they? And could I sponsor an event that's about that particular group of women and give my planner away as a raffle prize or a silent auction gift? There's so many ways to do it. I think a really cool way is through like a Facebook group. Some of my students have a podcast around their particular voice and what they speak to and who they help. Some women do YouTube channels. I do recommend podcast touring, going and speaking about your product and how it helps people and your heart behind it. And we do a lot of that prep at the beginning of like, who is this for? And because if you don't really care about the person getting it and you're just doing a business to make profit, it's going to be really hard to have the longevity of marketing if you don't have the heart. And so we spend a lot of time on the heart of it. But, having a sale is a big one. I teach them how to have a simple sale and then also how to have a robust sale, like a Black Friday sale, what that looks like in the e-commerce world. How to give away your product as a freebie, like maybe 2 or 3 pages of your PDF and then, teach them how to use it. And then hey, get the real deal, And so there's so many different ways to do it. You can go into someone else's Facebook group and teach your product. You could do all those same things in person. We're really finding that a few of our students are, now that their product's really out there, they're being asked to speak on panels at their church or at the women's event and having a booth. So some people are kind of going really in person, and some people are doing more online. And I really think it kind of depends on who they are and who their key demographic is. But I've always found for me, my biggest strength with marketing has been generosity. Like, don't be afraid to just get it in people's hands, and shoot your shot and being generous. When I first started my business, I mailed probably 15 copies to 15 people that really inspired me. And I wrote them a long thank you letter of why they inspired me. And those opened up into super fruitful relationships. And one of those in particular, she ended up having me be the sponsorship gift at a conference for 3 years running. And it was 1,500 women getting my planner, and it all started with generosity. And if you just hold all your stuff and you don't, give it away a little bit, there's just a lot of fruit to like being generous. And so I think that's my like umbrella, big broad strokes of it. But finding where your people are and teaching people how to use it, right? Like the guided journal. Like if you were doing a guided journal, let's have a Facebook group for guided journaling, and like once a month have like a 8 o'clock at night, like guided journaling meetup, and host that and grow that and foster that. And when people start to learn your style of journaling, hey, here's the journal, I'm coming out with it. You could do it pre or after, so that's been kind of fun too. Some of the girls are doing that with their launch. They're actually hosting like a 3-day challenge around their product. And then like, it's a thing, like this is a real thing. Here's the product, and so I love this stuff, like marketing and coming up with strategy is probably like my favorite thing to jam on.
Yeah.
So I do that a lot on our group coaching calls, but there's it's endless.
Yeah. And I think that, it's really cool to, I guess, just take that away for a moment, because I think so many people think, I'm creating this planet, it's a product to sell it. And, what you've just talked about, it's like there's so much energy behind it, effort, you're creating an experience, you're hosting an event, you're helping people, and there's something for them to buy. They may or may not. But I think that what a lot of people do is they look at those types of strategies and are like, oh, I've got to do all this stuff just to sell this thing that's worth X, and they might not even think it's that much. But it's like, but it's not just one. And imagine how many people you could get to come along to that. Imagine then if that person does buy and they love it, you're potentially gaining a customer for life. It's not just like a one-off purchase, especially if you're in that place where you're thinking there's multiple, I've got other products, something for them to move on to next, maybe once they've dealt with their grief, or maybe they're moving into the next phase of their life. It doesn't have to stop there. And I think that is, that sort of theme that I got from you there, and thinking more broadly about it, thinking more strategically about this is not just about making a sale today, like actually think about this as a business, and how can you bring your people in and share things with them, and yes, give away something for free. Absolutely. Which is a whole topic that I think, maybe we should dive into that really quickly, because, you so clearly, generosity, major part of your premise and how you do your business and your marketing. And I think that it can get really confused at times for people as well, because, you hear people say, well, give away your stuff for free and then people will buy. And some people try to do that, but they do it in a way that nobody ends up buying. And so what would you say is like, what is that balance, or how do you decide what you give for free and what you don't, in that it does actually end up bringing, creating that abundance? And it's not that you're expecting it, or that you're, I need something in return now because I've given. Like, we never want to be approaching it with that energy. I think it's always better to give, right, and not have that attachment to any expectation. But you are running a business, and people are like, well, I'm running a business here. I want the business to be successful. Very happy to give stuff away free, but how do you do it so that it is beneficial?
Yeah. Well, if you think about shopping, like if somebody was interested in your product and maybe they saw something about it, if you think about shopping, especially women, like we want to touch stuff. Like when you go into a journal store, in my world, right? You go into a journal store, you open it, you pick it up off the shelf and you open it. So, I mean, at the very least, by giving someone 4 pages of your product, you're allowing them to just open it to see if this is their jam. And if they open your PDF and your freebie and they're like, oh, this is my jam, then like they're probably pretty likely to buy the thing. I wouldn't give away the whole thing, but like I'd give away maybe 4 to 6 pages, right? So like, 3 little pages of it. That's kind of just where I would start. So for example, one of my first freebies I did was of my SOAP Bible study. and it has 5 seasons of life in it. And we've curated scriptures for each season. So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. Like, I'm feeling anxious. Let me do one of these, you know? And so this past summer, we just gave away 3 days of our purpose study. Well, purpose has 14 days, but we're going to just give away 3 and let people try it out. See if you like it. Is this your jam? Great. You know, like it might be your jam. And I love giving it away to a church group. You know, here's some printables to use. And it's just 3 days. And very likely there'll be someone, maybe 3 out of the 20 people in the class are going to go buy the product, right? So that's really fun for me. I would say my second year making planners, we have this front section of the planner called the canvas, where you do your bucket list and write out all the things you're overwhelmed about and set your generosity planning, and you do a heart check of like, who do I need to forgive and things like that. Yeah. And I decided to host a dream planning party. And I was like, whoever wants to come in New York, you know, and it was very early on, and I had like 7 people in my apartment. And I got all these emails like, I want to come, but I'm not in New York. And I'm like, well, thank goodness a lot of people didn't come, because I don't have a big apartment, you know, it's like a tiny little walk up. And they were like, can I host a party in my town? And I was like, okay. So I ended up for many years allowing people to host a dream planning party in their house. And I just gave them the front pages of my planner. And those were special pages. I didn't give them the whole planner with, you know, the weekly spreads or the monthly spreads, but the bucket list, the refocus cloud, the generosity planning, and the heart check. And, you know, and then I started making that better. Like, oh, and here's a video to play at the beginning of your party, you know, and here's an idea of what you can do to decorate for your party. And I had a hosting packet.
Oh, wow.
And the women were allowed to print out as many as they wanted. And the first year I opened it up, I had 220 people sign up to host these parties around the world. And I was like, what? Like, imagine if I had been like, I'm not giving away my product. Like, don't steal from me. I mean, so many people had these parties. I mean, some people had them at their church and invited 100 women. I mean, that was not very common. Most of the time it was 2 girls over coffee, but it was amazing. Like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, upload your picture when you go to the party. And I have all these pictures of these people hosting parties. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, you can have a fun experience like that too, and empower people to do events, especially now, you know, after the pandemic, people want to hang out in person. So creating an experience where your product's in the middle of it and it's helping is a fun way to do it. But if I had been scared about giving away too much, it probably wouldn't have worked out. But I think you can just think of it as like letting people have a test drive. You know, some planner companies, when you go on their website, they'll immediately let you download the weekly layouts just so you can choose. It helps the shopping experience.
Yeah. People definitely want to know what they're buying. And I think especially online, you know, if you are on the website, you can't pick it up and feel it in your hands. So you've got to give somebody like, well, what kind of experience can I give them online so that they can get a real feel for it and decide that this is the one for them? Because, you do want to have enough that they are feeling like, yes, absolutely, I can't wait to get this in my hot little hands. Oh, that's so cool. I love that idea. Like, I think it's so creative to think about people hosting parties, and, you know, what a simple idea, but also I can just see how effective that was as well. And, you know, it doesn't take much to think, well, once they have that little printout, then there's an easy way to be like, you know, would you like the whole planner? Then here's the website, or wherever you want to send them to. Like, it doesn't take much to turn that into, you know, traffic and sales to your website, which is just beautiful. And I love that idea. Thank you for sharing. Like, what a cool experience that you created. Is there anything that you would like to, you know, if you're thinking there are some steps that you might want to take if this has sparked any ideas, or somebody's feeling like, wow, maybe it's something I should look into for my business, and you can really see a purpose for having some sort of product that would be like a resource like this. And they're thinking, well, what do I even think about first? Like, what's the first step? What would you say to that person?
The first thing you have to do, the first step, is clarity, and sometimes that takes a while. I didn't know what I wanted to make for a while. I knew I wanted a business, but I really didn't have clarity for a while. But the three things that I tell people you need before you can really get started is, what do I want to make? Who is it for? And how does it help them? That, to me, builds a clarity statement. Like, I want to make a guided journal for moms who've experienced a miscarriage or grief or loss. It can be general or super specific. But when you have that clarity of like, or I want to make a coaching workbook for the women who've signed up for my program to help them have success through my program. Like, that can be as general or specific as you want. But that's the first step, is the clarity step of what do you want to make? Who is it for? And how does it help them? So that's always the first one. And usually that one isn't too hard to nail down. It takes some thought. And often I find with creative entrepreneurs, they want to make 7 different things. Like, well, I want to make this, and I want to make that, and I want to make this, and maybe one day I want to make t-shirts, and it's all this stuff. And so I really like to narrow it down of like, what's the one you're most excited to make? And also you think already makes sense for you, especially if you're already established in your business. Which one makes sense for you first? And what do they want? Like, if you have an email list of people, oh my gosh, send a survey. Hey, we're coming up with new products. Bring people into the fold. Let them vote. Let them vote on what you're making. Let them vote on the cover art. And by having them vote on all those things, they've already bought it.
Yeah.
They're a part of the building process of the product. Every year I send out a survey, and they vote on what planner cover we're doing and what planner interior layout, because that informs my purchase. 30% of people want this, 70% want this. Well, I'm going to buy that ratio from the printer to help me. So I'm not like stuck with a bunch of these that no one bought, And so that would be something to think about. And obviously, if you're looking for a paper product, I do have my print school. I have a free workshop too that's really great on like cost and timeline and what does it all entail. I go through the whole dream printing method, and that's at horatioprinting.com/workshop. So you can always just go there and watch it. It's free. It's like a 45-minute lesson. It's very visual of like how to go from A to Z with printing.
Yeah, amazing. I think that's so beneficial, especially when you've been through it and, you've made all the little mistakes or the lessons and learnings along the way. And you're like, well, it's like with anyone, I think, gosh, if I was starting my business again, like my first business back in 2010, come straight out of corporate. And, of course, that's my context for what a business is like and all of the things that you need. So, you busily go around trying to recreate that for your own small business. And then a few years down the track, I was like, you know what? I really didn't need like 90% of it. I could have just started with this and it wouldn't have made any difference at all. But they're all things that you learn as part of that journey. And then to be able to share that with somebody else, I just love that you've created that for other people, because you're like, hey, here's what you need. And this is the stuff you don't need. You don't need to worry about these other things. But yeah, such good advice. I totally agree. I think creative people and entrepreneurs in general, I think, are ideas people, visionaries, right? So you're always going to have more ideas and all these different things that you're excited about. And, I think that's super sound advice to be like, pick one, pick one. Put your energy into it. Do less, do it better. That's definitely something that's one of my lessons, I think, over time as well. Like, do less, but do it better. Just stop trying to do all the ideas because they're all exciting and you want to do them all. But, it does make such a difference when you can just channel your energy into that right space.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's lovely. So thank you so much, Polly. Where can people find you? You've mentioned your website. We'll make sure that that's all hooked up in the show notes. So if you're wanting to go and have a look at her lesson about what you need to do to get started, then please dive down there and access that video. But if they just want to connect with you on social media, or where do you hang out, where can we find you?
So HoratioPrinting.com is my website where it goes to all the things. And then my Instagram is just Polly-Payne, my personal Instagram, where you can find me and my kids and all the things going on in our life. And then Horatio Printing on Instagram as well is a great place. And I also have a podcast, the Dream Printing Podcast. It's on YouTube and anywhere else you enjoy podcasts.
Oh, amazing. That sounds great. We'll make sure that all those are hooked up in the show notes. And, please do tag Polly and me if you've been listening to this episode and you've got some ideas or you're inspired, then we'd love to hear from you because, it's been fun for us to have this conversation. I hope you've enjoyed listening to it. But, I always love to hear, what you think and anything that sparked for you from tuning in today to the podcast. So thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it so much, Polly. And thank you everyone for tuning in today.
Thanks for having me.